yeah, 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 oh, yeah, yeah, born and dead, saved by love, count my blessing from above. Though in darkness, have no fear. Light will shine on those holding near. They know that sorrow they will pass. For I know in this life there will be something. But remember that love, yes it will. Love will reign. Yeah. Love will reign. Yeah. In my heart, I believe it. Love will reign. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have a vision, it's clear and plain. People living life, smiling again. Oh, see the children, they know no pain. Far from pressure, stress and strain. Oh, sorrow, they will pass. For I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But remember that love, yes it will. I know, yeah. Love will reign. Gotta believe it. In my heart, I truly believe. Sun will shine again, and love, I can hardly wait. We'll all be together. There'll be peace, peace, sweet peace, happiness and joy. Oh, one day, someday, pain will be over and love will reign. They won't last, for I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. In the end, love will reign. Love will reign. Said in His word, weeping may endure the night. Love will conquer all. Love will win the fight. So don't be discouraged. Don't be dismayed. The darkest hour just before the light. Hate will be crushed, fear will be gone, love will remain and go on and on. Though the road seems rough, my friend, we know how to turn it. Oh, yeah. La, da, da, da. La, da, da. La, da, da. Oh, la, da, da, da.
Different orientations, different understandings, but all with a common goal: to up our love game. To up our impact on love in the world. And we do that in various ways. I'm so glad that you are here tonight joining us on Love and Stuff. Interesting topic, and we may have some people join us in the discussion on the topic at hand. I hope you will click share and tag some people to join us in the conversation as I am sending some invites. Facebook only allows so many invites, and so I am inviting others while we are live. And I hope that you will click share and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join us in the discussion. All right, I'm going to tag just a few more folks, and then we'll get into the topic. All right, just a few more, and I apologize. I've tagged some people who are no longer on this side who have populated. So my apologies if that might get to a family member. All right. All right. I know I'm up against some heavy hitters, Marilyn Nelson. So hopefully people will watch it and then, double back. Okay, let's see who has joined us. Sandra Beavers, Kim Wilson, Darcia Sanders, my sister. I miss you. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Nina Fryer, thank you so much for coming to Love and Stuff. You are up against Greenleaf and Empire. Yes, Sandy Hudson. I was thinking of you last night at the Whitfield Company recording, that gorgeous voice. William Lyons, there's a lot of conversation going on in Facebook land about the recording and selection of musicians. Not our topic tonight. Carrie Doss has joined us. Sonia Williams has joined us. Good evening, bro. William J. Lyons IV. Tim Dennis has joined us. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Hey, Sonia Harris, I'm so glad you've come. I know that I'm up against Charlie Brown and Empire and Greenleaf, but I'm going to keep forging forward, hoping that you will share this content and hoping that you like the content that is brought here week after week, and that even if you don't watch it immediately, that you come back and watch it. Can you give me some likes if you like the content and that's why you're back tonight? Just give me some likes and loves. Our inbox is always open for you to give us feedback on what you'd like to hear and see on the show. And we're always looking for topics. And as I discuss with people, you can drop a topic in the inbox. There's a love. Thank you so much. And you don't necessarily have to come on and talk about your topic. We can maintain your anonymity if you decide. And sometimes to do that, because people in the Love and Stuff community have different relationships with other people in the community, sometimes we kind of camouflage a little of the details so that people don't feel like they're on the spot. But you're always welcome if you suggest a topic to come on and talk about the topic with or without anonymity, up to you. And so we appreciate that. Jan Holmes Boyd, my cousin, has joined us. Thank you so much for coming to Love and Stuff, one of our Love and Stuff community members. And I hope that you all that are here will click share, please, right now, and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join us in the discussion, which comes straight from our inbox. And it is an interesting inbox discussion. I'm hoping to hear your thoughts on the discussion. And I'm going to read from the inbox. This is kind of a letter, if you will, that I am sharing. I see Pam Bass, who has joined us. Thanks so much for coming back to Love and Stuff. Charlita McGinnis, thank you so much for coming to Love and Stuff. I am going to read straight from the inbox while I hope that you are clicking share right now, tagging 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join the discussion. So once you click share, then you tag people in it. That helps to get our shareability up and the opportunity for the content to be shared with more people. I got 1 love. Hey, Pam, I need some more loves and likes if you enjoy the content and you are willing to share it with someone. Art Parker, thank you so much for coming to Love and Stuff. So straight from the inbox, getting into the topics, I'm going to ask our senior associate producer, J. Gerald Harvey, who I think will be in a moment, to post the topic. So because it's a lengthy one, I may not read it as many times as I normally do. Thank you for opening doors for hurting people to share and heal, she says. Attached is one of my many experiences. I hope that women who choose to be the side chick will understand. A woman once came to me and said, "I'm going to take your husband from you." Laughing, my response was, "If you can get him, you can have him." Well, my husband and I were going through a hardship at the time, and I was tired. One thing I was not about to do is to fight a woman over my man. If he wasn't strong enough to say no, then I wasn't going to fight a battle for 2, she says. And so the journey began. She set out to get him as I watched him drift away. Many times it can start with a joke, even right under your nose. If you allow drift in your relationship, Satan and those available for the assignment will come in. First trick, she miraculously tripped over something invisible in the aisle at church and mysteriously fell into his lap. And yes, I was sitting there right beside him with my daughter and pregnant with our 2nd child. Don't miss this. Marriage was and still is ordained by God. And when you intentionally set out to destroy what God has ordained, you're opening the doors to a lifetime of curses on your life and generations to come through your bloodline. The excitement of sneaking around with someone else's husband for a cheap thrill totally destroys your value and worth as a beautiful human being. You do know that you're beautiful, right? That you deserve your own man, right? Yes, I shed many tears as I watched my marriage being invaded. I watched as my children's trust in the first man they ever loved slowly crumble before their eyes. You do know that children are innocent bystanders and that the shots of lust you fire hit them, killing them slowly. Maybe he initiated the flirtation, advances, and you weren't strong enough, whole enough, disciplined enough, so you became a willing vessel, not knowing that this mean and cruel act of home wrecking would haunt and destroy lives. Maybe I lost a good man, but I'm convinced that God's word will stand forever. Some battles we as humans don't have to fight. Know that God will stand up for what he has ordained, and you can't win. Yes, I had a battle. I faced divorce alone, but I won my self-esteem back. My kids suffered, but they won their mother back. What did you win? A broken man and the signs for the next woman who will do the same thing to you. Sure, you did many things that I wouldn't do, but what will the next one do to you? Watch the change in his spending habits. Watch the change in his work schedule, his route home, his sexual appetite. More ATM receipts and less use of the debit cards. Watch the change in his moods and his inability to articulate his unhappiness. Watch the password changes and new habits. Unfortunately, my ex-husband passed away, but not before God allowed my daughters to rekindle their relationship with him. You weren't the only one. You were one side, like macaroni and cheese. It's good until you want some greens or potato salad, searching for something to taste to satisfy that appetite, but never really being filled up. Maybe if I could have handled it differently than taking you to the church, but I thought that was the right thing to do. I can't say you deserved my ex-husband because when you steal, it never really belongs to you. I just know that I'm free to be at peace and the wife of someone who isn't broken. And that is from our inbox. That's her letter to the other woman about her relationship ending in divorce and subsequently, unfortunately, her ex-husband passing away. Tamuk Scruggs has joined us. Clarence B. Prepared Sanders has joined us. Leslie Fame Girl Moss has joined us. Ivo Jackson has joined us. Nicole Walker, Rita Reed, Ernest Scott, Lanine Morgan has joined us. Thank you all for coming to Love and Stuff. So I want to talk to you about, from our inbox, this topic, this letter from the other woman. It is kind of a lengthy excerpt because there's much more in the dialogue that I had with her from the inbox, but some of the excerpt of her letter to the other woman. I want to talk to you about this other woman concept, which is not a new concept, right? We hear about side chicks all the time and the other woman. And we hear about sometimes the drama that ensues when one woman finds out about the other woman. But here is a woman that has gone through a divorce, and her husband, unfortunately, ex-husband, eventually passed away. But she kind of wrote this letter of both warning and woe to the other woman. How would you handle it? Hello, Valencia Sheila Tate. Love you much. Eric Powell, thank you, sir, for coming to Love and Stuff. I want to get somebody on to talk about it a little bit. How do you handle this side chick phenomenon? I want to see if someone can talk to me. Doesn't mean that you're the side chick. Doesn't mean that you've ever been the side chick. I just want to get how you will handle the side chick. Thank you, Tamuk, for coming in. Good brother. We're talking, this is a letter from a woman to the other woman. And she kind of details some of the things in the relationship and is trying to bring to the woman's attention what the impact was on her family. All right. I see where Valencia is available to talk to us. Wonderful. And, I may see if I can get the first lady on here, Lady Morgan, who can just talk to us. Not from any specific place or, but just for the dialogue. What do you think about the letter to the other woman? Would you write a letter to the other woman, or would you just write a living epistle and write on the other woman? How would you handle the situation if there was another woman? All right, Valencia Tate, I hope that you're able to come in. And while Valencia is coming in, I want to remind you that you can go to our page and purchase a Love and Stuff t-shirt. We're going into the winter season, so guess what? We have hoodies, sweatshirts, performance tees, which are the long sleeve tees that you work out with, from $16.99 to $31.99. They can be delivered to your door. You go to our page, you can shop right there. 25% of the net proceeds goes towards scholarship efforts, disaster relief victims, and to support and uplift the members of the transient community. So your purchase of a t-shirt goes much farther than just putting a t-shirt on your back. It will help to bring sustenance to other folks. D'Angelo Malcolm has joined us. Tamara Gaines has joined us. Thank you so much. Tamuk says, tell her to move on. She's released her feelings, so time to heal. And sounds like she has to some degree moved on, Tamuk, but do you think, thank you, Sheila, keep trying. Do you think it's okay for her to write this letter to the other woman? Should she not confront the other woman at all and just give it to prayer? I'm going to say camouflage a few of the details because this was still in anonymity, but it does involve a church. It does involve folks in a church. So I know people like to do a lot of modern day commentary on the church. That's not what this is. Church people are people that are just like you and I, but they have a focus on the love, the quintessential love that is God, and how he intends to flow through their life to advance his kingdom in this world and in the life thereafter.
but it doesn't mean that they aren't touched. We aren't touched with the same things that other people are touched with. And so when I say that this involves the church, it's that she thought the resolution that she was seeking, she could find it in counseling in the church. And that wasn't what occurred for her. That wasn't what happened, which is a whole nother topic in and of itself. And we might have to do a part two relative to how people handle grievances and issues that might arise in organizations, especially in the church. All right, so I want to see, how would you handle it? Okay, trying to get you in. Valencia, Victoria Boyd has joined us. Thanks so much for coming to Love and Stuff. Okay, Valencia, I'm trying to get you in. Now, if you probably need to be on the phone. So if you're on your computer, you probably won't be able to go live. But if you're on a phone, you can definitely go live. And what you need to do is make sure your landscape is turned around. Your orientation lock is removed, and turn it sideways. At the bottom where the comments are, there should be a green button just to the right of that. Press that button, and that's how you get in. Jeremy Haynes has joined us. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. Pam says, sounds like she blamed the other woman and not her husband as many indiscretions. People flirt, but he engaged in the relationship. I wouldn't confront another female. Thank you for that, Pam. I think she blames them both. I've read a large part of the excerpt, so I think she blames them both. And I think both of them do have blame. I think anybody that, whether or not the husband initiated or didn't initiate it, whether or not, okay, I'm gonna let you try one more time. Whether or not he initiated or she initiated, every adult that is not without mental defect of some sort has the ability to say no, and should say no as it relates to someone else's covenant or marriage.
What you wear says something about you, about who you are, what you believe, and what you stand for. So here in the Love and Stuff community, we wear the brand that we live, and we live the brand that we wear because we love the brand. It's all about increasing the amount of love in the world and upping our love game. And if that's what you're about, you should wear it too.
And so I understand her frustration with the woman, and I understand her frustration with the husband. Because this is more a letter to the other woman, Pam, you're hearing a little bit more of the letter to the other woman than the husband, because he's now ex-husband, he's now deceased. Tamuk says, ain't no rules in how you deal with the other person short of murdering them. Okay, Tamuk, thank you so much for that wonderful way in which to deal with conflict. All right. Hello, Valencia, how are you?
Hi, Marcus, I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well, and thank you for coming on.
No problem.
I saw in the comments where you said you've been through that. So when you say you've been through that, you have been in a relationship where there was another woman, a side chick, as it were.
I was married for 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a side chick.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found out,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw them together at church,
Mm-hmm.
I explained to her that if you can get him, then he wasn't mine in the beginning.
Wow. And so, Valencia, how does that how does that feel to confront the woman who is in relationship with your husband? What is that like?
Well, it hurted. But as you know, Marcus, I am a praying woman.
Mm-hmm.
So I have prayed and asked God to give me guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Once he did that, and I had people surrounding me that was positive and knew from the beginning what was going on. They
Mm-hmm.
saw it. I never spoke on it.
Mm-hmm.
I never said anything about it. I kept it to
Mm-hmm.
myself, but everyone around me saw the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So once I said that to her, needless to say, they got married.
Wow.
And they've been married since 1993.
Wow.
And within the last, I'll say, 3 years,
Hmm.
they have separated.
Wow. So they ended up, you got divorced and he ended up marrying her
Yes.
and stayed
And
with
they
her,
have 3 kids.
and they have children.
Yes.
Wow. And have you had any conversation with her? Do you think that she thought he wouldn't do the same thing to her? Have you had any
Well,
conversation with her?
when we saw each other at the church, and I forestated, if you can take him, he wasn't mine.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let me inform you of something. What he did to me, he's going to do to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been going on for years. So I was like, I went in my shell. You know, I can do that very well, Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
I went into my shell and everybody was pulling me out, but God was dealing with me
Mm-hmm.
on his time, not
Mm-hmm.
mine, but his.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decided to come out of my closet of being in the house, I was the dedicated wife. I was the dedicated everything to him. At least I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
And his own family was like, no, you haven't done anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, needless to say, I came out. People started talking to me. Needless to say, I had a relationship that didn't work out. I had a couple of them, they didn't work out because we were not equally yoked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I want.
as you go ahead, Marcus.
No, you go ahead.
As you know, I'm still single.
Mm-hmm.
God hasn't sent me my Boaz yet,
Okay.
but I'm still available and praying.
Yeah. During that time, were you thinking that you had done something that made him cheat? Did you really?
Yes, I did. I did think I wasn't a good wife. I didn't keep the house clean. The food wasn't cooked right. I wasn't home from work on time. I wasn't making enough money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was like, what did I do?
Mm-hmm.
And they was like, you didn't do anything. You did everything a wife is supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was there. I was cooking meals. I was working. I was paying for babysitting. I
Mm-hmm.
was keeping up the cars.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it just like I
Yeah.
do now.
Yeah.
I still do it. I was doing it back then.
Yeah. And looking back to that time, were there signs before you found out? Were there signs that you might point out so that people that are in that situation, because I see Aria saying, I can only say the other woman is at fault if she knows the man is married. But I also want to add to that, because I think you probably, if you watch the signs, you can probably tell whether or not the man that you're fooling with is married. So I want to ask, from a wife's perspective, what are some of the signs that you saw after the fact?
I saw a birthday card.
Now your volume went down for some reason.
I went down.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
I found a birthday card in the trunk of the car. And it was addressed to my boo. So I was like, who is this from and who is your boo? Oh, that's nothing. That's nothing. Okay. Okay. So then he started staying out real late. Now you a church boy. You play the drums at the church. Ain't no church though. Ain't nothing open at 2:00 like your mama say, but legs and bars.
Right.
Okay. Getting up early in the morning, leaving before I would, leaving me to tend to the kids. Where your daddy go? Oh, he said he had to go do such and such. He'll be right back. He'll be back in an hour. Okay, an hour turned into 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Then I call you. Oh, I'm around the corner. No, you ain't. No, that one ain't working either. Oh, I just went to the store. No, you didn't. Nah. I'm hanging out with the boys. But then the boys call you and say, I'm looking for such and such. You seen them? Oh, okay. If if your stomach, or as we say, something told me, that was God. Something told me that you was doing this, that, and the third. It wasn't nobody but God. Women's intuition is real.
Chris Bryan has joined us. Elder J.J. Harvey, our senior associate producer, has joined us. Aria Moody, Justin Davis, Gerald Simmons, Eric Sanders, Willie Rogers, Alan Curry, Jerome Rutledge. I want to ask you, because Aria raises a good point. You know, people are engaging.
Marcus, hold your point. Hold your point for a minute. Someone said it's the other woman's fault. No, it's not. Not necessarily. Because if he was married, he should have stated to her that I'm married. So you can't blame the other woman. I never blamed her. Okay. I never blamed her, because it takes two. She could have said no. He could have said, when she went before him, he could have said, I am married and I don't think I should do this.
And so I want to make sure I'm following that though, Sheila. Are you saying, Valencia, Sheila, one and the same? Are you saying that because he's the one in the marriage, that you don't blame the woman? I mean, but she had to engage in the relationship at some point, so no blame for her.
Exactly. I don't blame her. I didn't blame her in the beginning, because I don't know what he was telling her.
Okay.
But after she found out, then yeah, it's her fault as well. So it's both of their faults, not just one person.
Okay. All right. That I wanted to clarify that, because I'm just wondering, you know, in this letter, she's kind of saying to the other woman, do you really understand the impact, not only that you had on me, but on our children? Because,
yes,
you know, when
it
there
took
is
a toll on my
infidelity,
kids.
it can impact the children. Yeah.
It took a toll on my kids, but I did not, I quote, I did not talk about their father in front of them. I allowed them to get older and find out for themselves what was going on. And when they found out, they were devastated. I had to take up the slack for everything. Everything that was promised that wasn't delivered, I had to make it happen.
And how young were they when the infidelity happened?
Let's see. 7, 8, maybe.
Okay. And so as they got older, what's some of the impact that you can have seen or can see on them?
Yeah, because some of them act just like them. And I go to, but it's up to them now, because they're grown. They have to make their own decisions. I can't make it for them. They can't get in heaven on my skirt tail. They have to do it on their own. So all I can do for them now is pray for them, like I was doing all while they were growing up. Lord, give me the strength I need to endure this walk of life that you have me on, as well as protect my children.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Valencia Sheila Tate, for coming on and sharing from your story. Before I let you go, is there anything that you would tell someone who is currently an other woman, a side chick? What would you tell them about being in that relationship?
I would tell them to make sure you watch for the signs. Watch for those red flags when you say, boo, are you coming over for the holiday? And they say, oh no, I got something else I got to do. I got to be with my family. Okay, family, remember that. So if you say you can't come spend time with me, and you've been spending time with me every day, now all of a sudden you can't because you have something to do, you better watch them red flags. And you better keep praying that God adjusts your mind and take those blinders off your eyes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Valencia Sheila Tate. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're so welcome. Talk to you later.
All right. Okay, so that's Sheila. I call her Sheila, but her name is Valencia Sheila Tate, and she shared a page from her own story about
her marriage and about a woman at the church who was involved with her husband, who subsequent to the divorce married her husband and stayed with him for years, had children with him, and then is separated from him now. And she says, watch those signs. Those signs are present. I agree with your guest. The man was at fault, and if the woman knew he was married, then she willingly did wrong. But never blame the other person. It's your spouse who took the vow and ultimately violated them. Thank you, D'Angelo. I'd like to swipe you in. Tabitha Goodner has joined us. Thank you so much, Tab. Sherry Jackson Caldwell. What a surprise. I'm so glad that you are here. Oh, I have a couple here. I want to talk to the couple. Let me see if they're together. They're always together, even if they're not together. So I'm going to North Carolina. Let me see, transplanted from Detroit. Let me see if I can get Eric. Oh, come on, Darcia Sanders. Eric and Darcia Sanders, don't y'all do that to me. They're in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, of all places. And I would just love to just have a quick talk with them. I just want to get some of their wisdom from our brother and sister down south. Denise Harris has joined us. Thank you so much for coming to Love and Stuff. I'm going to repeat the topic in 1 second. It's a lengthy topic, and so I don't know if our senior associate producer has had a chance to drop it in the comments, so I won't read it too many more times, but it is an excerpt of a conversation. It's really a letter to the other woman. And I know there are some people who say, nope, you don't talk to the other woman. You talk to your spouse, or the other man, you talk to your spouse. But this woman decided to reduce to writing some of her thoughts relative to the other woman. Yvette Baldwin has joined us. Okay, Eric is not responding, so maybe I won't be able to get him in either. Okay, I'm trying to get that couple in. I'll read the topic and then I'll see who's available to come and talk to us. From the inbox, thank you for opening doors for hurting people to share and heal, she says. Attached is one of my many experiences. I hope that women who choose to be the side chick will understand. A woman once came to me and said, I'm going to take your husband from you. Laughing, my response was, if you can get him, you can have him. Well, my husband and I were going through a hardship at that time, and I was tired. One thing I was not about to do is fight a woman over my man. If he wasn't strong enough to say no, then I wasn't going to fight a battle for two. And so the journey began. She set out to get him as I watched him drift away. Many times it can start with a joke, even right under your nose. If you allow drift in your relationship, Satan and those available for the assignment will come in. First trick, she says, she miraculously tripped over something invisible in the aisle at church and mysteriously fell into his lap. And yes, I was sitting there right beside him with my daughter and pregnant with my second child. Don't miss this, she says. Marriage was and still is ordained of God. And when you intentionally set out to destroy what God has ordained, you're opening the doors to a lifetime of curses on your life and generations to come through your bloodline. The excitement of sneaking around with someone else's husband for a cheap thrill totally destroys your value and worth as a beautiful human being, she says. You do know that you're beautiful, right? That you deserve your own man, right? Yes, I shed many tears as I watched my marriage being invaded. I watched as my children's trust in the first man that they ever loved slowly crumbled before their eyes. You do know that children are innocent bystanders and that the shots of lust you fire hit them, killing them slowly. Maybe he initiated the flirtation, advances, and you weren't strong enough, whole enough, disciplined enough. So you became a willing vessel, not knowing that this mean and cruel act of home wrecking would haunt and destroy lives. Maybe I lost a good man, but I'm convinced that God's word will stand forever. Some battles we as humans don't have to fight. Know that God will stand up for what he has ordained and you can't win. Yes, I had a battle. I faced the divorce alone, but I won my self-esteem back. My kids suffered, but they won their mother back. What did you win? A broken man and the signs for the next woman who will do the same thing to you. Sure, you did many things that I wouldn't do,
but what will the next one do? Watching the change in the spending habits. Watch the change in the spending habits, she says. Watch his work schedule change. Route home. Sexual appetite. More ATM receipts and less use of the debit cards. Watch the change in his moods and his inability to articulate his unhappiness. Watch the password changes and new habits. Unfortunately, my ex-husband passed away, but not before God allowed my daughters to rekindle their relationship with him. You weren't the only one. You were one side, like macaroni and cheese, she says. It's good until you want some greens or potato salad, searching for something to taste to satisfy that appetite, but never really being filled up. Maybe I could have handled it differently than taking you to the church, but I thought that was the right thing to do. I can't say you deserved my ex-husband because when you steal, it never really belongs to you. I just know that now I'm free to be at peace and the wife of someone who isn't broken. I know it's a long topic read, but I had to read it again to give you context for the discussion before I bring Eric and Darcia Sanders from Charlotte, North Carolina on. Carol Walker has joined us. Demetrius Neighbors has joined us. Daryl Brown has joined us. Michael Kemp, Carl Reed, a stellar cast of people coming in. Dawn Carnes Cutler has joined us. Valerie Colbert Olsen Waiting. And thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. I hope you will click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join us in the discussion. We're going to Charlotte, North Carolina to talk about this letter to the other woman. A number of you have already said, hey, move on. You don't need to be with your spouse who made the commitment, who made the vows. And maybe this person from our inbox, this woman, disagrees to the extent that she felt because the woman approached her and maybe jokingly she said, I'm going to get your man. She ended up getting the man for a period of time before he unfortunately passed away. And so she reduced to writing some of that letter to the other woman. And I wanted to hear from you, those of you maybe not in that situation, but how would you handle that situation if you were in that situation? Eronda Brooks has joined us. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. Noah Williams, thank you, cuz, for coming to Love and Stuff. I'm trying to add you right now, Eric Sanders. So at the bottom of the screen, if you see where the comments are, there should be a green button just to the right. You press that button and it will signal me that you're ready to come in. I've already invited you. There you go. Let's see. I can get you in. All right. Hopefully we're getting Eric Sanders in, and hopefully the lovely Darcia Sanders is with him. They're in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, but they're transplants from the great state of Michigan. I always got to throw that in because they're so happy down there. All right. So I'm seeing Eric. I'm seeing part of Darcia's hair. you got to get her face in.
Oh no, this is odd.
Yeah, okay, that's you coming in. A little bit more, slide over.
Slide over.
Toward Eric.
This is odd.
There you go.
Oh no, this is odd.
Well, I love it because rather than talk on the phone with you, Darcia, I have to see your facial expression. That's how our relationships work. I can talk to Eric on the phone all day, but I got to see your facial expressions. All right.
All right.
So here is Eric and Darcia Sanders living in Charlotte, living their dream in Charlotte, North Carolina, left me here in Detroit, just as sad as I can be.
What up, though?
And so you hear the topic.
Hearing feedback.
But you got to stay in the camera now, Darcia. Stay in the camera.
Okay, hold on, because I'm hearing feedback on my phone or something.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. What do you think about this writing a letter to the other woman? Should there be a letter written to the other woman? Or should it be a living epistle writing a letter with fisticuffs? Should you write a letter?
So here's the thing. So I mean, dialogue is good, Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
I would say dialogue is okay.
Mm-hmm.
However, I feel like that the other woman has no obligation to you.
Okay.
So you might want to ask questions. You might need to fill in some gaps.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the main issue is with your spouse, the one who has made a commitment to you.
Okay.
So if they violate that vow,
Mm-hmm.
then they should only answer to you. The rest is really null and void at that point.
Mm-hmm.
How it happened, what needed to take place, all of the signs that led up to it is really null and void, because I think your previous guest indicated that this person was married. Your husband is married. So he's the one that has committed to you and God
Mm-hmm.
to be faithful.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know it's not a popular opinion that that's not possible, but it is possible,
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, it takes some willpower, it takes a whole lot of Jesus, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you felt that you needed to stray, or you needed conversation, or you needed companionship from somebody else, it was just as easy to go to your spouse and say, hey, something's wrong. There's something that we need to fix, and we need to do it quickly.
Mm-hmm. Eric, what do you add to that, if anything?
Well, I feel that the person who's doing, the person that's actually, or the other woman,
Mm-hmm.
she has no ties to the commitment at hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, the one thing I was telling Eric when we were listening is that, with the other women, whoever that might be, whoever the other woman is, they often kind of seek out married men.
Sure.
To me, they're not looking for men that are, not married or are married. They see a man who's treating some wife somewhere pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
They already have it established, and it's basically like, you got them just the way I need them at this point.
Right.
I don't have to break anybody in.
Right.
So that thought that they don't know that they're married, even if they don't know at first, once they do find out, they're looking at, okay, he's basically, broken in already.
Mm-hmm.
He has all the concepts that he needs. He's a provider. He's taking care of his family, and I can come into a ready-made type of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the thought to think that women are out here trying to avoid married men is a little silly.
Yeah, a lot of times they're not even looking to they're not looking to pretty much not, how can I put it? They're not looking to seek out a relationship per se. When I say a relationship, they're not looking for commitment.
Mm-hmm.
They're just looking for somebody to just give them some attention.
Yeah.
More so than.
And sometimes people say the person that's most wanted is the person that somebody else already has, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what really kind of fuels the fire, to say the least. It's the forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And so, being a married woman whose husband loves you, adores you, what would you say? See, he loves you, adores you. What would you say to these other women? I hate to just say side chicks, but these other women, what would you say, being a happily married woman, what advice would you give to these side chick women who are seeking out men that are already married and broken in, as you say? What would you say?
I was about to say, well, Eric said, get your own. I said, shoot your best shot. Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This might have already been said, but if you want them and you feel like you can do anything to get them, shoot your best shot.
Yeah.
And
slide over to the camera a little bit more. Get your face in the camera while you say it.
Okay. But I'm serious when I say shoot your best shot, because ultimately, like I said, the commitment is not from that woman to me. It's from Eric to me.
Right.
Oh, okay. Is that better? Okay. So the commitment is from Eric to me and not from the other woman to me.
Right.
Right. So if it's not a woman that I know, not a woman that we go to church with, not a woman that he works with, it'll be some woman on the street. It'll be somebody that he bumps into in the grocery store because he's so fine. right?
Right.
So there's really nothing that I can do to prevent
Mm-hmm.
someone who might say, "Oh, he's a a good catch."
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, he gonna kill me for telling this
I
story.
do the catching.
So, for instance, one of his nurses works at the gym too,
Uh-oh.
and and so she was talking to him at the gym, and Erica was like, "Wait, what is going on?" And she came home to tell me, and I'm like, it's not a big deal.
Your church nurse.
She was trying to give you some mints.
Right. But it's not
Just a
that
hanky, like my face.
it's not that big of a deal, and I wouldn't want anybody to stress
Mm-hmm.
over the fact that every woman that comes into your husband's presence is somebody he's going to fall for.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, again, you can't stress over their intent. You can only trust in the fact that your husband is committed to you.
Got it. Have you ever had to check another woman, or Eric, have you ever had to check another man about your wife? Have you ever had to just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't play that.
Yes. And so how did you handle that?
Like Boys in the Hood.
No,
Yes.
no, let me say this. So Eric and I are very transparent. And if we sense somebody is a little inappropriate, a little too close, a little too friendly,
We have borders.
we share that.
Yeah.
We share that with each other. And then we're able to say, okay, this person is a little too friendly, and we need to establish a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
We need to say, okay, I can't talk to you on the phone, or we don't talk on the phone to anybody anyway, but I can't, let me say it this way. We know in church, so here we go. In church, people hide behind ministry, right? So even in that, we understand that if somebody is a little fresh, we have to then separate ourselves, because that can go, somewhere fast. And as a married couple, you have to establish boundaries, because ultimately we are men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And if you call yourself befriending somebody and we just talk about life, eventually one toe is going to go across the boundary, right? And before you know it, you just didn't realize why you're feeling so woozy inside, right? So you have to establish those boundaries early on to say, but we're not going to get into that space with anybody else.
And so back to that advice that you would give, when women say, I didn't know he was married, you're married, and so you know your husband's habits and things of that nature, right? You know what a married man's habits are, at least for your husband. What would you tell a woman are the signs she should look for in knowing that he's married? Now, some women are looking for married men, but some women say, I didn't know he was married. So what would you advise her to look for as something that might be a hint that he is married?
So this is the other woman. A
Yes.
hint that the man is married.
Yes.
A hint that the man is married is if he never or rarely calls you.
Okay.
He only texts you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
That's first. There's something going on that he can't pick up the phone.
Okay.
Right? Or when you call him, he texts back.
Or you haven't met his family.
You have not met his family. And we do know that some families, they'll entertain everybody.
Yeah.
But
That's a goofy family.
But you haven't met his family. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if he has children, you have not met his children. And I'm not saying after day 1 or 2, but if it's been a few months or so, you should meet those that are important to him. His family, his friends, his church members, for that matter. If he doesn't take you anywhere in the daytime, that's a clear sign. Or if he doesn't take you in public, or if when you all date, he needs to go, I don't know, outside of a 50-mile radius to date you. And you're like, oh, wow, this is so romantic. No, it's not.
Or he can't answer his phone in front of you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So there's definitely signs. I know that when we are smitten and in love, we ignore those signs, but the signs are there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Mhm.
One more thing before I let you all go in your
All
wonderful
right.
place in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, in this situation, she took the other woman and her husband to the church, took them kind of before the church. What do you think about somebody bringing their situation to the church?
So what I will say is all of the psychological marital studies I've done say that you actually should expose a cheater, a cheating spouse.
Hmm.
That everywhere of influence that they go,
Hmm.
whether it be church, work, where at their family, that is not something that you should keep private,
Hmm.
because the walk of shame kind of allows a different perspective,
They
Okay.
got that in Detroit.
especially of for a cheating husband.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times a cheating husband might feel confident as long as nobody knows.
Mm.
It'll just get swept under the rug. I can tell you it was your fault. All of that stuff. I'll shift the blame, I'll shift the guilt.
Mm-hmm.
But when you expose that relationship, especially if it's somebody that goes to the church
Mm-hmm.
or somebody that works with him, if
Mm-hmm.
you expose that relationship, it'll kind of break it up, because then everyone's looking at both of the parties
Mm-hmm.
like, you're real foul.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can't walk proudly in that sin.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
agree too.
go ahead.
But however, I believe the kingdom suffers violence. So I don't think you should take it to the church. They got shows for that, like Cheaters
Shows.
and the Hall of Shame, like she mentioned in Detroit. They got that type of stuff for that. But to bring it to church so other people, new born again people, to see that, that's a little too much, I think.
Do you think that the church is equipped from a leadership standpoint to deal with these kind of situations?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Some of them
when
are.
a couple,
Mine
when
is.
there's
Hold on,
infidelity
hold on.
that's happening.
Some of them are. And even there's a lot of people that think their church is. I'm not talking about their church. Some of them are that really are.
Wait, what just
But
happened?
however, some of them aren't.
So this is what I'll say about that. I'll say so often we as a church, we tend to practice the ways that we can cover it instead of ways that you can expose it and heal it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we aren't trained, or we don't equip or even put people in place that are trained to say these types of events are coming up. Not just cheating, but all types of life issues. They're coming up, and we are going to be prepared to address them when they come. Often in churches, because churches are sometimes so close knit, we tend to just say, well, we're going to go into private counseling and we're going to handle it that way. And you don't come out no better. You might even come out worse. So, if.
Well, the pastor may end up with your woman. Go ahead. I just thought I'd throw that in.
You did. You threw that in.
Okay. All right, Marcus.
No, finish what you were saying.
But, I think that we have to be intentional about ministry. Of course, ministry is not just singing, shouting, and preaching. Ministry is building the families that reside with us. And we have to be intentional about how we are going to support the breakdown of those families.
Okay. I appreciate you both coming on. Any parting words that you would have either for this former wife or for the other woman of things that they might do, next steps?
God is a healer.
That he is.
He's a healer. He can heal whatever situation you go through. It's not that you did anything wrong. I know the other lady found out and understood that it was not nothing she did wrong. But don't blame yourself. you will get through it. You will get through it. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, Lord Jesus, yet shall he also reap. Got some parting words for you too. I don't want you to think we don't be trying to answer the phone. We get in the bed, man. We can sleep. We just let your broadcast take us to sleep.
Well,
No.
that's comforting, I think.
We love you though, man. You
I love
already
you
know
both.
how we feel about you.
I love you both. And I think it's good to have couples on here so people hear, because I believe there are a lot of women out there, they want a husband like Eric, right? And not Eric. Maybe some of them do, but that's another show. But
I'm
they
off the
want a
market.
husband like Eric, and they're not willing to wait until one is available.
Right.
And so they need to hear from happily married women about how they might reposition themselves and build themselves up so that they will be in the place and space for that husband to join with them. And I don't think anybody seeks out their life's goal is to become a side chick. I don't think anybody seeks that out, but people seek out
Hold on.
to have the same thing that you have. They covet what you have.
Yeah.
so,
And so the worst thing that a person can do is compare
Mhm.
their life to someone else's.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I think what you will find is if you have not found your husband, it's probably just that you need a little more time molding and developing yourself, or God needs a little more time. It's not necessarily that the man that you see today, the man that you see here next to me, wasn't the man that I got when I got him. I mean, we've grown
Same with
together. We've grown together, and
Yeah.
so it's a process
Mhm.
It is.
between you and that spouse.
Mhm.
It's something that as you all come together, the Lord is forming you in his image. And you know, what you see now in any man may not be where he's going to be 10 years later. And what you think is you're going to dismiss the one that doesn't look so great. You don't think they have it all together because you see your neighbor and you feel like they have it all together. Well, just put some work in with the one you got
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it'll work out for the good.
Yeah.
Because the man in your dreams or the woman in your dreams is in your dreams.
Okay. Let me
That's Perkins.
catch up with some of the people
I got
before I
that
let you go
Perkins.
on some of the comments. David Carr shouldn't be a letter to the other woman. It should be taken up with the spouse. Okay, that's kind of what you guys are saying, right? It really shouldn't be. It's not on the other person.
Mhm.
Mark Holloway. They don't care if they are married. James Woodward, Evelyn Graham. Let's see. One major component of a marriage is communication. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because you might hear people who've been together for, I don't know, Eric and I have been together, we've been married 19 years, but you'll see people married that long and longer that'll say, you know, oh, we've never had any problems, we've never had any arguments, we're happy. And my thing is based on whose perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because just because I never say anything doesn't mean I'm happy.
Right.
So you have to communicate and do a check-in to figure out where we are.
Yeah.
You know, in life we grow older, we change. So where are you now?
Yeah.
The thing that turned you on before may not turn you on now.
Yeah.
So where are we today?
Yeah.
What do we need to do to adjust so we can continue to stay happily married?
Yeah.
Because,
Chaplain Pauline, go ahead.
every situation you're going to have issues or arguments. The Bible says you're more than a conqueror. There's no way you could be more than a conqueror if you don't have no fight.
Okay. I like that.
But
Chaplain-
not fights now.
I'm not talking about fights.
Disagreement.
I'm talking about arguments or
Disagreement.
disagreements and things of that sort.
Disagreements.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Chaplain Pauline Belbreas joined us, Anthony Flanoy, Bridget Lamar Jackson, who's a newlywed,
We gonna
Valette
fight.
McLewis, Tina
I
Gibson,
love you too
Francois
much.
Moore. Michael Kim says, if the pastor didn't hook them up, don't bring it to the church. What do you say about that?
Well, Jesus hooked them up. Supposedly.
Well, I do
Supposedly.
say now, I do believe if your pastor is worth his weight in gold, if he has any merit, you should be able to receive some form of counsel
Yeah.
from your pastor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just absolutely should.
Yeah.
Now, if if he a jackleg, maybe not. But you know, whatever.
Yep.
But you know your pastor. So if you've trusted this man with your soul, you can't trust him with your marriage.
Yeah. That's good.
That's true.
Johnny DeBerry has joined us. Ann Lewis. I think that it should be brought to the pastor first. If it continued, then it should be brought out in the open. What do you think about that?
I didn't hear it. Say that again.
She said,
You said not
Cheryl
in the
Walker
open?
says, first bring it to the pastor, and then if it's not, if it continues, then bring it out in the open. You say don't bring it out in the open. Darcia says bring it out in the open. And this
I
Cheryl
say
Walker
bring it
is
out in the
saying,
open.
bring it to the pastor first, and then if it continues, bring it out in the open.
I say take it to cheaters.
So I'll say this, that I can go with that method. If that person goes to the church, I'm not sure if she went to the church as well.
Yeah. Yeah, she was in the church. I don't know if you heard the part of the reading, but she approached the wife and told her that I'm going to take your husband. But she said it kind of like she was joking. And then one day she walked down the aisle and acted like she was tripping and fell in the husband's lap.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a person in the church.
So we've seen many fights in the church.
Too much.
So it might have started there. I don't think there would have been a way to contain that.
Yeah.
Because
That's
it's
drama.
so disrespectful.
That's
right? And so I do agree that, you know, if there is a pastor or any form of leadership over a church, you should be able to tell them, I'm having this issue and it should be addressed before I openly address it.
Right. Okay. Keith Gregory, Lori Wesby have joined us. Pam says, I don't think it should be brought to the church at all. So she kind of agrees with you, Eric. Should be equipped to kind of provide that kind of counseling, you know, in order for that to happen. Eric says, well, the pastor might try to get your wife.
This is 2019.
Yes.
Be real.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wanted to have you on when I thought about it, because I thought there are women that are in relationships with married men. It's a reality.
With married pastors.
With married bishops, since we're going to go there. Married
it
apostles.
is a reality.
Married apostles, married prophets. Let's call it out.
It is a reality.
It's a reality. And I don't know if they have happily married women who can help to advise them. I just think that you're the best thing in our arsenal to help women who might be having a value proposition challenge. That's what I call it. Because if you really value yourself at the level that you should, you're not going to get yourself in that kind of situation regardless. It's not always just a thing of discipline, because that can happen being in the wrong spot. But somewhere in your value proposition, it'll kick in to say, now I'm better than this, or I deserve something better than this. And I'm not sure that a lot of women that are involved, and or men involved in these extramarital affairs, really have that value proposition. And so I think it's good to connect them and let them see other people who have that value proposition. What do you think about that?
So Marcus, I agree. Let me start by saying I agree. But unfortunately, I believe that that lack of value proposition comes from childhood, right?
It does.
It comes from a foundation of brokenness. And a lot of times what you'll find is that a woman who has a lack of value as an adult, there was some man, whether it be her dad most times, that was absent or did not give her the attention that she needed at that time to tell her that she was beautiful and that she mattered. And most times that's why they look for that attention from men. And so if another woman comes along often and says, well, I want you to know that there's a better way to do this, that you matter, you're beautiful, it's still not fulfilling for them. They are looking for that attention to be given by a man. And oftentimes, as you said, the chase of a married man makes it more exhilarating.
Mm-hmm. And I guess if they can, my thinking, and I think you're spot on, I'm just hoping that one of the dynamics that might shift that is sometimes people don't also see the impact, Darcia, of when they engage with that married man, of what that impact could have on the family. And sometimes it's also helpful for when you're not where you should be to see someone who is. Helps you to see a pathway to be where you need to be. It's not always the only effective way to do it, but if you can see it, you might have a better chance of becoming it as you're working through all of those issues that you name, because it's hard to navigate when you don't really understand the impact of not having a father or not having a healthy esteem or not having all of the things you mentioned. You don't know that you don't know, but then if you're connected to someone who really is a glimmer of what you want to be, that might help you to shift in your thinking. That might be the thing that could shift it.
It does help. I just believe that sometimes in our society, we end up with a situation of doubtfulness where we don't believe anything. So even if it looks good, we're going to say, oh no, it couldn't be that. So there's still nothing that you could tell me. There's no relationship. And you'll hear people say it all the time on Facebook. There's no relationship that's perfect. And there isn't. But that doesn't mean it's not a good relationship.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's.
And it doesn't mean.
I think that's people's defense mechanism. They don't want to believe it because they haven't received it. That's what that is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So even when they identify, or when the Lord places them in in the company of someone who could be a blessing and an addition to their life, they reject it because they're like, no, I know something, or I heard something, and no, it's not that. When in all actuality, the Lord is trying to put you in the place, and all of the wisdom doesn't come from older women, right? It's trying to put you in a place to say, here's somebody you can watch, here's somebody you can talk to, here's somebody that you can mirror, or here's somebody who you can just share what's going on, and they're not going to judge what it should be. And Eric and I do this all the time, and we talk to married couples all the time, and it one, stays right with us, but two, here's the other thing. We don't side with anybody. We side with what's right. And wherever that falls is where it falls. Yeah. But we go with what's right and what the Lord says and how the Lord indicated that it should be. Yeah. And so it's no right or wrong. It's just that oftentimes people have to humble themselves and die to themselves and say, I'm sorry, I apologize to you, whatever the case may be. And I think oftentimes, again, in today's society, we refuse to believe that that exists.
Yeah, you froze for a minute. I don't know what happened. Michael Kim says, how can a pastor help a marriage if he's never been married?
Not at all.
Well,
no, he can only go off what the word says.
Well, yes, I would like a biblical perspective.
But however, for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, a single pastor can't help me because I'm looking for somebody that has the experience and knows from the perspective of where if I was to come to him about an issue, he can't help me, but he can, don't get me wrong, he can help me with the word, what the word says, but can he be one-on-one with my situation? No.
And of course, I
don't know if I need to be one-on-one with my situation.
Eric, I want to say, can the word be enough? Because the word could be enough to help.
It is enough.
It is.
Without experience.
But I need him to understand my perspective.
So here's the thing. Here's what I'll say to that. Yeah. So, and here's what I'll say to that. Although I understand where Eric's coming from, and I agree that he can lead from the word, I don't need him to experience everything I experience to speak to me. Because if that's the case, I would want him to be a cheating pastor to talk to my husband about cheating. And if you're a cheating pastor, I'm going to have to say bye.
No, but I need him to understand. I need him to know what it feels like to have a family if I'm talking to him about family stuff.
I mean, I get it.
That's just how I feel.
I get it. Yep, I get it. I think that he can also speak to you from the perspective of the word, and that the
I
word
agree.
is enough to speak to your situation. But I get it. You want someone who has experiential knowledge in your specific area.
And know how I feel.
Yes, I get
I
it.
know how you feel, baby.
No, you don't.
What just happened? Okay, so Toya Miller has joined us, Brenda Landry. Before I'll let you go, the value issue is real, but I wonder if that's why men cheat as well. I think it would be hard for a man to cheat if there wasn't a woman available to cheat with.
Very true.
I don't
That's
think you
very
just
true.
get to cheat by
So
yourself. I think someone has
so
to be willing to participate.
part of the reason why the men cheat that do cheat, just a part of the reason, is one that it's widely accepted amongst peers,
Mhm.
amongst church members or whatever. The people that know, there's people that know that don't hold that man accountable, or woman for that matter,
Mhm.
accountable to say, oh no, dog, that's wrong.
And a lot of older women teach their daughters and younger women that men cheat.
Yes,
That's
they
how they
do.
do.
Marcus, they teach that.
They
That's
do.
just
That
the most
every
ignorant thing I ever seen in my life. But I did understand this. It's also on the other foot. Young, I'm gonna say it like I heard a preacher say. I heard a pastor say it like this, and I love him to death. I ain't gonna call his name, but I love him to death. He said, "Young hoes grow up to be old hoes." I'm sorry to put that out there like that, but
Yeah, this is a
know,
different loving
that's just
stuff
the truth.
tonight.
So the thing is that, it is a fact that we or women make themselves available. So it's not only widely accepted by your peers, but it's also widely accepted by other women. And
Mhm.
so, like Eric just said, some women are groomed in that a man is going to be a man and he's going to cheat, but as long as he's taking care of you and taking care of
Yeah.
his kids,
You
you should.
smiling all the way to the bay.
Yeah, and there's some foolishness.
Yeah, really important.
So in society, we need to hold up the standard of Christ ultimately,
Mhm.
and stop creating our own rules and guidelines based on the shift that the world does.
Mhm.
I mean, you know.
That's
Come
wonderful.
out from among them.
Thank you, Eric and Darcia Sanders from Charlotte,
Yay.
North
Bless
Carolina.
you, man. Love you, guy.
We love you.
Love you much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care now.
That's Eric and Darcia Sanders, and they are hilarious. I love them to pieces. And I think they've given some sage advice, and I hope that if there are women, the other woman, the side chick, or the married woman, that you heard some things in their conversation and dialogue that you can use today. I want to talk to one more person before we go. Those of you that have joined since the time, I don't know if our senior associate producer dropped the topic. It's a long topic, but summarized, it really is a letter from a former wife to the other woman who confronted her and told her that she was going to take her husband, and eventually she did. And this situation had a negative impact, of course, on her children, on her family. The husband subsequently, after the divorce, ended up passing away. And so she writes this letter, kind of recounts some of the events to the other woman. And I wanted to hear from you whether or not you think it's okay to do a letter to the other woman, or whether or not the focus is really on your husband or ex-husband, whether or not, like Tamuk Scruggs said very early on, whether or not you should just let it go and move on. Is the other woman a conversation that you should be having when there is another person involved? Tony McMorris has joined us. Thank you so much for coming to Love and Stuff. I wonder if Michael Kemp is, let me see if D'Angelo Malcolm is available. See if I can get him. And Michael Kemp, I don't know if you're with Coco Kemp, your wonderful wife, but I'd love to hear from just one more couple. Chantel Michelle Jackson has joined us. Thank you so much, Chantel, for coming. I would have swiped you in a moment ago just to ask you about this other woman letter, is there a need to even have a conversation with the other woman? Or is this a situation where you just have a conversation with the husband? I'm also interested in hearing more about whether or not there should be conversation with the church. OC Tab the third, thank you, sir, for coming to Love and Stuff. I hope you will click, share, and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join in the discussion. In this letter to the other woman, okay? All right, looks like I got D'Angelo Malcolm. Uh-oh, you hit the decline button. Okay, looks like you made yourself available, then you hit decline. So you gotta, I'm trying to, let's try it again. I got 2 people. Okay. All right, D'Angelo Malcolm, thank you, sir, for coming to Love and Stuff.
Hey, what's going on, Marcus? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well, sir. How about you?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. And so you heard the topic.
Great. Let me take this off.
Okay. So you heard the topic. Do you think that there should be some dialogue between these 2 women, or is this really just inside of the marriage? There should not be any dialogue with the other woman. What do you think?
First of all, absolutely not. I don't think there should be any dialogue with the other woman, because right now the marriage vow, like I said earlier, is between the spouse and his wife. Excuse me, the spouses, right? And so when this other woman, though, I think she crossed the line when she told her, hey, I'm gonna take your husband. Now the husband, he's at fault too. Right? I mean, the husband is at fault. The other woman does share something, but it's the issue is not with the other woman, it's with him. He made the decision. And so he was a willful participant. I've been married 23 years, right? If some woman told me that's not on my wife, or some woman told my wife that's not on her. That's on him. He made the decision. He did it. And so now, don't get me wrong, I still think she's wrong, but no, you don't, that's unnecessary. I think that's just, she's hurt though. And so, she's speaking from a broken place. And so because she's broken and she needs healing, then that's some type of closure for her, especially since the husband is deceased, the ex-husband is deceased now. What she's really looking for is closure, because she's probably still hurt from what happened. And you can't really blame her for that. She wants to, she's hurt, you know what I mean? And, she was vested in this relationship. She obviously loved him, she cared about him, and she probably didn't think this would really happen. And then it devastated her. I think she was just devastated. And, so in some way, I'm not going to say she's wrong for sending the letter, because that's her way of dealing with it. But for me, I think that it's from a broken place rather than anything else. Okay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you for that. And what do you think about this notion of taking the issue to the church, of the wife taking the husband and the other woman to the church for there to be exposure or counseling or whatever? What do you think about that?
Okay, so, all right, you got to give me a little bit on this one, okay? So here it is, Marcus, let's think about this. First of all, a lot of churches are dealing from a broken place too. Systems of operation are broken, and it's not being led in the spiritual way. And some people come to church and it's just really a social event. And so when people are really looking for healing, when people are looking for help, they can't go to the church sometime because the church is broken. And it's like going to a hospital. If you go to the hospital, you want to go to get, to find some type of a healing. And so, or some deliverance from pain. And so when the hospital is, on lockdown, or the church is on lockdown because they're still got everybody in the triage because they don't have any doctors on hand to help and assist you. And so you take them to a broken system. Now, if you have a system that's equipped to handle it, then I think you should. But I do believe that if you have a church that believes, I'm not trying to be facetious, but that believes in the Bible. Okay. Because some churches got their own systems of government. Is really crazy. Okay. Like you said, I actually agree with what you said. I knew what Eric meant, what he was saying. and I actually agree with him to some degree. But no, the Bible is enough. Even if you have a pastor who's, who's not married, the Bible is enough to give you a guideline to deal with what's going on. Now, I understand his perspective in terms of, you've never been through this, so you can't really tell me. But hey, he may come from a home with a good parents, and he might have had, a good upbringing, and this may be his expertise, and so the question is, yes, I think if you have a church that can handle it, you can do it, because it can get way out of hand. If you don't deal with situations, it's like, feeding it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And eventually, if you don't deal with those problems, you have an out of control church, people, sleeping around and doing all kind of crazy stuff. I thank God, my pastor, I've been there for over 20 years. He's never been in any scandals or any of that stuff. He's been married to the same woman. When people start telling me their pastor did all this crazy stuff, well, how do you go there and you're going to get some help from him if he's broken? You can't go to a doctor who's sick, because he can't give you what he needs, because he has to wear a mask because he doesn't want to infect you.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of good sense. What would you say, having been married, you said 24 years?
23.
23 years. What would you say to these other women, these side chicks? What advice would you give to them?
They're broken. They're broken because, I think the music of yesteryear messed them up when they said, I'd rather have a half a man than no man at all. And so you will never be able to get the benefits of what that wife gets. So, or unless you leave, and then you got to run the risk of doing the same thing happening to you. I think when you become a space invader in a relationship, that's very dangerous, because some people don't see it as, oh, it's my husband's fault that you did this. No, they'll see it as you can get hurt, you can get killed. When you start talking about coming into relationships, when you got a lot of stuff vested, it could be money, it could be time, children, and different things, you run a risk of getting really hurt, and then you don't just hurt the other person, you could injure the children, you could injure the extended family. And God forbid, if you're a church leader and you do that, you can damage the body of Christ by being that way, and so, you got to be very careful. I think that, I've seen so many people, they want to be married so bad that they will take and get a piece of somebody, and then they struggle through the marriage. And they wear masks for so many years because they struggled and they got a piece of something, and it wasn't something that's going to help them. And so I think that we have become a watered down version of what it's supposed to be. And then society accepts it. Girl, you got him, he yours. And everybody knows, when you come around, they know that that's really your girl. You know what I mean? Why would you want to be less than, It's almost like, I heard this pastor say something. He said, you ever notice that Rolls Royce or a Bentley is never in a commercial? They're never on sale because they understand their worth and their value. I think once you understand your worth and your value, you won't, become a beetle. You know what I mean? So if that makes sense.
It does. All right. Thank you, D'Angelo Malcolm. I appreciate you coming on.
No problem, bro. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks.
Take care.
You too. So that's D'Angelo Malcolm, who's been married 23 years and said, hey, this issue is really in the covenant of the marriage. It is not the other woman. And because the ex-husband is deceased, maybe for this ex-wife, this is her way of trying to find closure. He would not be a proponent of that necessarily, but that's her way of trying to find closure. I like the advice that he would give to some women who are lacking in a value proposition. And we all have a value proposition that we should work on to improve. But if you are going to settle for a piece of something rather than the whole something, because you're a whole person, you might have some work to do on your own value proposition to ensure that you are building yourself up. If you're going to be in a situation where you need to get counseling, you got to kind of know
it's hard sometimes to know, but you got to go to a place where there is some holistic counseling and where people are trained and or anointed and skilled to provide the kind of counseling that you need. Unfortunately, it is true that you can't find that in every organization, institution, even the church, but there are many places that you can. And so want to thank Brother Malcolm for that. And you might follow him on his journey. I think he's having a meatless journey, so you might follow him there too. Pam says, right, I think she is still hurt and needs to seek help for herself. I agree. Lena Brown has joined us. Andre Berry has joined us. Thank you, brother, for coming to Love and Stuff. Valencia Edner, thank you, Mama V. Tony McMorris says, if she is a pastor, minister trained in counseling, she should seek them for spiritual guidance. Yes, I agree with that. We are all broken. Some issues are just more of issues than others. The husband broke the family, not the mistress. Interesting point. And he may have broke the family with the use of the mistress, right? Because I don't really think you can break an infidelity without there being a second person. Doesn't make the other person a sole responsibility, or your fall back for having broke the commitment, but it does take two. In your mind, you're breaking the commitment, but you got to bear that action. It's sad because I've witnessed married pastors who have had affairs with broken women who went to them for help. So I would say, know the pastor character before you take your issues to him. And I agree with that, Coco. It's just so difficult, I think, for some people. When you are broken, some of your sensitivity around flags that are happening sometimes aren't as keen, aren't as awakened. Fortunately, when you are in your most broken state, you're not always as careful of who you're taking that advice from or who you're seeking advice from. And so I think you're right. That happens to a lot of people. I don't want to just say pastors or leaders. I'm not, trying to bash or support specific pastors or leaders necessarily. But I'm saying that I think is very prevalent where people are broken and they're seeking help. They're not quite savvy in those moments and aware that there are people that might prey on them, unfortunately. But it is very sad. Henry Wells the third has joined us. Michael Fanoyle, it's been a long time, sir. Thanks for coming back to Love and Stuff. I hope all of you that have joined will click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join the discussion. Take these issues to God. He's the only one who can give you the peace and healing that you need. I believe that. And I do believe, Coco, when you take them to God, that God has anointed, assigned, trained, skilled people to help you walk in a space of deliverance and freedom and healing that you've heard a number of the folks mention tonight. So don't get me wrong. I know that God from heaven can heal you anywhere you are. As a matter of fact, if you made your bed in hell, he will be there, right? But I do believe that he's anointed and skilled some people to help you walk this journey. And it's just sometimes difficult to be awakened when your senses are dull from depression or brokenness or unworthiness, that a lot of women, I don't want to just generalize, but a lot of women walk in brokenness. A lot of humans walk in brokenness, right? You heard Pam say we have brokenness, right? But a lot of women walk in brokenness from broken relationships. You heard Darcia say from childhood, from the absence of a father. So many variables and factors contribute to that. People walking around looking to be affirmed, looking to be validated, looking to be worthy enough. And they find themselves, because they aren't awakened to that, they find themselves in the hands, in the arms, in the lure of people who may not mean them well, and people who are not free because they're in covenant with someone else, aren't free to provide any of that to an individual. And so it, for me, goes back to that value proposition about are you awakened to your own worthiness? Are you awakened to, though you were broken as a child or whatever may have happened in your story, are you awakened to the fact that the quintessential love that is, that God in his love decided that there was purpose in having you come into this earth, and that the very fact that you are here means that you are valued and worthy and worth having a whole human being to love you
and to share in relationship with you that is just yours, that you would have the space in your life. You heard Darcia say maybe you're not quite ready to that point, and God is moving you to readiness, but there is a space and time for you to have the kind of love that you would envision for your life that would be reflective of the standard of love that God has for us. And so people are walking in brokenness, and that's why I think people like Darcia, though I know she treasures her private space, but I believe that when God has largely blessed you with a phenomenal foundation and awakening, I love to use that word because I think that we get awakened to love. Love is always present. There are love interactions that you and I pass by every day. I believe love is always present, but we're not awakened to it. And until you become awakened to it, you might be dead to many other things. And so I think you got to be awakened to love, awakened to it so that you find a reflection of what love looks like in you. Because there's a reflection of what love looks like in you. And if you become awakened to it, it helps to empower you about what God intended for you to deserve and have, and what he intended for you to be. And he did not intend for us to be, as you heard D'Angelo Malcolm say, space invaders in other people's relationships. He intended for us to be able to be in a wholesome place and in waiting for our covenant love, our space for love, not to invade someone else's space for love. Kamal Williams, one of our associate producers from North Richland, Texas, is here. Thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. Of course, I would be expecting you to be in Love and Stuff, so that's another story. So, Philip Patrick, and before we close out, it's been a great show. It's 10 o'clock, and I just wanted to double back to the topic. You know, oftentimes we get topics in the inbox, and the individuals who share those topics just request anonymity. And sometimes in honoring and maintaining that anonymity, it requires that we redact or camouflage information. Sometimes we get topics from wives whose husbands love and stuff. And I welcome that, and we work to camouflage it, because sometimes the wife doesn't feel like this is a topic that she can speak to her husband about, or vice versa. And one of the things I love most about this community is that your voice matters, whatever your perspective is. And doesn't mean that we'll always all agree on a perspective, agree on what is right, agree on a belief system. But I think the more that you hear other voices, it helps you to fortify what you know, reinforce what you know, or challenge it. And I think your love for yourself should be challenged. The love that you mete out to others, we call it here the love quotient. The amount of love you receive over the amount of love that you give is your love quotient, and it should be challenged. You should be challenged to give more, to do more, to prune the way that you love, to love better, to up your love game. And so in this topic, I'm hoping that from our inbox, that our woman from our inbox hears a number of you saying, while you're trying to get, because that ex-husband is deceased, that closure should not rest upon the other woman. As much as she may be a space invader, I like that word, D'Angelo Malcolm, she's invaded the space of your marriage. You know that she couldn't have done that with willful and thoughtful commitment to adultery. He had to think about it and do it and allow her into the marriage. And so while you may not have great respect for her actions, and she is wrong in her actions, your recompense or reconciliation should not come at her hands. Even though you can't get it from your husband because he's gone on, and who knows where he is, You know, we would preach people into heaven or hell based on how we think that they have lived or what they have done. And we ultimately know that love is the judge. And that doesn't always feel good when you are the defense attorney, or the prosecution rather, because you want love to convict and give a life sentence. But if you were on the defense side, you might want to have some mercy and grace. You might want love to have some influence on the jury, influence on the sentencing. And so we could all put ourselves in a position where someone has been involved in some wrong that has our lives. Because that person's been involved in the wrong, who should be the object of your obstination or the object of your anger, frustration. Again, you may not have high respect for that person. You may not even want to have an interaction with that person. But that might not be the person where your issue is. But there is one person that you can get a resolve with, and that's yourself. You can free yourself from the bondage of unforgiveness and free yourself from thinking that you did something to deserve what another person has done to you. You'll find the power and strength to do that in the quintessential that is love. And God is love. And he intends for his love to be reflected in you because he's poured it in you already. And he wants you to reciprocate that back with all that you have, mind, body, and soul, and your neighbor as yourself. As yourself. So before you can get to that love of neighbor, other, outwardly external love, there's some internal love and consideration that you've got to do. That you've got to consider reconciling the wrongs I've done to you that could never be any different. You don't have a chance to face them in a court of law or in a court of opinion. You have to reconcile for yourself with the love that has been poured into you that should reflect that love. And then in that place of wholeness, then you're able to love again, to love others more freely, more deeply, more often. And that's what I would say to the woman in our inbox, in concert with what those of you in the Love and Stuff community have voiced and others that have shared, that your issue, now that you can't face that issue with an ex who has passed on, it's an issue of awakening for yourself, that you no longer have to be held to the standard of what someone has done to you. And you certainly don't have to hold others accountable that have invaded your space. This space belongs to you and God. And now fill it with his love, his healing, that he will freely give to you and help you navigate. I am a proponent of this. Regardless to what you may hear and have heard and will hear about the churches and the structures and the things that aren't right. And I don't disagree that there are structures and churches and systems that aren't right. But if you get in the space of loving God, God will lead you to a place where you can receive the kind of counseling, receive the kind of instruction, receive the kind of tools and resources that will help you get on the plain path and for you and I, so that we can experience the love and be the love that he's designed for us to be in this world. What a great show, and I want to thank all of those that swiped in to talk with us. I hope that you will share this content. Great show. The only way we get to 1,000 views and 60 shares is if you share the content by clicking share, tagging 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join the discussion. You can also stop by our Love and Stuff page, purchase a Love and Stuff t-shirt, sweatshirt, hoodie, performance tee. 25% of the net proceeds go toward scholarship, disaster relief efforts, and to support and uplift the transient community. Also on our Love and Stuff page, we're doing our gratefulness journey. Many of you are on the journey with us. We're just looking for others to sign up. Our goal is to get people to sign up on. That's lofty. People who are using gratefulness to empower their lives. I talk often about a mindfulness journey that I started a few years ago. And now on a gratefulness journey, on the gratefulness journey, you do 3 things each day that you're grateful for. Speak them aloud and share them with 3 people. Do that for 30 days to create a habit of gratefulness. And then you'll be on the gratefulness journey every day, where you are looking for ways in which to take inventory of the things you should be grateful for. My mother, Princess Irene Holmes, bless her memory, lost 3 children and her husband. And one Thanksgiving Eve, when I decided that I was not going to cook, she said to me, "You have the right and the space to grieve however you want to grieve over everything you've lost and everyone that you've lost. But you also must reserve the right to take inventory of everything that you have left and everyone that you have left and be grateful for it." That's what the gratefulness journey is. We could count our losses. We can count the things that have happened to us, the things that have been disappointments to us. But what about the things that we can truly be grateful for? If you have trouble finding those things, you could be in mild depression. And that's okay. It's not a place that you have to stay. It is a place where you have to be awakened to. You can hear the sound of my voice on the camera. You've got 2 things to be grateful for. 7 just out of those 2 things. And unless you become awakened to it, you will ignore all of the things you have to be grateful for every day. Everything may not be going the way that you think it should. There are situations and circumstances, troubles and trials that you're facing every day. But if you harness the power of gratefulness, you can actually repel the effects of those things in your life. Many of you that are Christian already are praying and worshiping and meditating every day, and you're meditating on the good things, whatsoever things are good and lovely. You're thinking on those things, and you can find things every day, Christian or not, to find gratefulness in and share that gratefulness with other people. It's going to power your life. It's going to change, see the situations that, for those of you that are seeking love, especially the amore love, one of the things that it does is it awakens you to everyday interactions of love. I was sharing on a few episodes ago on this gratefulness journey. People don't think, first of all, people don't take my advice and go on Saturdays to the supermarket, but that's, you got to go back and listen to that show. But people don't realize how often you're passing love interactions. And it's not packaged the way that you think it is. It's the store clerk. You go in the store and you see the same store clerk all the time. You don't make eye contact with that store clerk. You get the same Snickers bar or get the same Gatorade every day and just exchange the transaction. What about engaging with the store clerk? Now, the store clerk could be the same sex, but that store clerk might have a sister who he will remember, say, "It's a brother that comes in the store, looks like he got his stuff together. I want you to meet him." So you never know what the pathway or portal is to get you to what you want to have. You got to be awakened to what's happening around you every day. And gratefulness awakens you to that. When you walk in gratitude, it awakens you to all of the interactions that are around you. Be serious about passing the love interaction you to the next level that you want to go to, but you're not awakened to it because it appears like it's white noise behind you. It appears like it's a part of the backdrop, if you will. You have to be awakened to it, and gratefulness awakens you to the small things, the things that sometimes people regard as insignificant things. It awakens your senses to them, and it gives you the opportunity to lift those interactions for love possibility. That's all I want you to do on the gratefulness journey. Increase the amount of gratitude will help you increase the amount of love opportunities to love and to be loved. And I don't think there's anybody in this world that couldn't take more love. And I know if I were a gambler, I would bet you that there isn't anyone in this world that couldn't stand to do more loving. Up your love game. Join the gratefulness journey by going to our Love and Stuff page and clicking on, it's a small gratefulness box. You click on it, you put your name, your email address, it'll send you a free gratitude quiz. Take that quiz. You'll see your score of 1 or 0 to 105. Gratitude. The gratitude is the overall feel when you're grateful. Gratefulness count. The things you can inventory. So think of it that way. Take an inventory of the things you're grateful for, and you will have more gratitude for those things. I'm Marcus Holmes. I want to invite you to join us Saturday morning. That's when we do our check-in for gratefulness journey every day. And we just check in with you to see how the gratefulness journey is going, to get more people to join the gratefulness journey. What a world it would be if we walked around with more gratitude. What a world we would live in if we upped our love game. And that's what we seek to do here in Love and Stuff. We're glad that you're here for the journey, and we're hoping that you're here for the long haul as we want to grow this platform so that we can reach other voices and share other perspectives on love and stuff. I'm Marcus Holmes. Thank you so much for coming.